Have you ever come across a book that claims to be a master key? A single text that could unlock all secret wisdom. A philosophy so powerful that for centuries its teachings were only ever passed from teacher to student, lip to ear. Well, today we're going to dive into exactly that. It's a fascinating work called the Kybalion, and it's a modern look at a philosophy that goes way, way back to the dawn of history. Right from the very first page, the Kybalion hits you with this. It's a powerful statement that sets the tone for everything that follows. This isn't just casual reading. The idea is that this knowledge is for people who are actively looking for it, for those whose ears are, like it says, truly ready to hear. So the big question is, where did this all come from? To get that answer, we've got to travel back in time thousands of years, to ancient Egypt, and to a legendary figure who was known as the Master of Masters. Let me introduce you to Hermes Trismegistus. Even his name is incredible. It means the thrice great. This is the guy credited with founding what we now call the Hermetic arts. We're talking astrology, alchemy, and all sorts of occult wisdom. His influence was so massive that the ancient Egyptians saw him as the god Thoth, and the Greeks called him Hermes. He's really the OG, the source from which this entire philosophical system flows. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. This knowledge was kept under lock and key. The followers of Hermes were super careful about who they shared it with. They believed that just broadcasting these truths to the unprepared would be like casting pearls before swine. Plus, they were trying to avoid persecution from the theologians of the Middle Ages, who, let's just say, weren't big fans of this kind of secret doctrine. So it was passed down quietly, from one person to the next, for generations. And that brings us to the Kybalion. It was published back in 1908, but the authors remained anonymous, calling themselves the Three Initiates. They claimed it was a compilation of these fundamental, spoken-word-only doctrines. And it's not meant to be a Bible or some kind of rigid creed. It's presented as a key, a tool to help you, the student, unlock a really powerful way of seeing the universe. All right, so what's the very first door this key unlocks? It's a huge one. In fact, it's the absolute foundation for the entire philosophy. Get ready, because this is a mind-bender. This is it, the very first Hermetic principle, mentalism. The idea here is that everything, and I mean everything we see, touch, and experience, matter, energy, life itself, is all part of a mental creation. It's all happening inside the mind of what the book calls the all, basically a universal, infinite, living consciousness. Just think about that for a second. The entire universe as a mental projection. So, starting with that mind-blowing idea of mentalism, the Kybalion then lays out 7 interconnected principles. You can think of these as the universal laws, the physics that govern this mental universe. And understanding them, well, that's supposedly the path to mastery. 7. That's the magic number here. 7 principles that, according to the text, act like a key to unlock every door of the Temple of Knowledge. And here they are, the 7 principles that make up this whole framework. We've already touched on mentalism, which is the big one, but the others all build on it. Correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. Each one is a lens to understand a different piece of the puzzle, so let's look at a couple more to see how they all fit together. Okay, the principle of vibration. This one feels surprisingly modern, right? It lines up so well with what physics tells us today. The idea is simple. Nothing is ever still. Everything, from the tiniest atom to the biggest galaxy, is in constant motion, constantly vibrating. The Kybalion says that the only difference between, say, a rock, your thoughts, and pure spirit is just the speed of their vibration. The higher the vibration, the higher you are on the scale of existence. Now, the principle of polarity, this one is fascinating. It says that opposites like love and hate, or heat and cold, they aren't actually different things at all. They're just 2 ends of the very same spectrum. Think about a thermometer. Is there a precise point where cold suddenly stops and heat begins? Nope. It's a smooth gradient. They're just different degrees of the exact same thing. And that idea of a spectrum leads us right into the next principle, rhythm. This one states that there's a constant swing back and forth between those 2 poles, an ebb and a flow. Like a pendulum, the swing to the right determines the swing to the left. You see it everywhere, in the stock market, in your own moods, even in the rise and fall of entire civilizations. So what's the point of knowing all this? I mean, it's interesting for sure, but why does it matter? Well, the goal isn't just to intellectually understand the universe. It's to learn how to skillfully operate within it. And this is where we get to the really practical stuff. This is what the Hermeticists called alchemy. But forget about turning lead into gold. That was just a symbol. The real alchemy, the true transmutation, was mental. It's the art of changing your own mental vibrations. By understanding these principles, you can learn to consciously take a feeling of fear and turn it into courage, or turn apathy into passion, simply by moving yourself along that mental spectrum. It's kind of like an ancient blueprint for cognitive behavioral therapy. And here is where it all clicks together. Let's go back to that first principle. If the universe is truly mental, then this art of mental transmutation isn't just about changing how you feel. It's about changing the actual conditions of your reality. Because if everything is mind, then mastering your own mind is the ultimate key to mastering your life. But hold on. Before you start thinking this is some simple, you create your own reality superpower, the Kybalion throws in a really important warning. It presents a paradox that separates true wisdom from what it calls half-wisdom. This quote gets right to the point. See, a little bit of knowledge can be a really dangerous thing. Someone might hear that the universe is mental and decide, great, I can just ignore the law of gravity then. Well, the Kybalion says that's just foolish and dangerous. And this table really lays out the difference. The half-wise person thinks, oh, this is all just a dream, so I can do whatever I want. And as the text says, they end up broken against the rocks. But the truly wise person, they get it. They understand that while the universe may be mental in nature, it is very, very real to us while we're in it. So they don't try to defy the laws, they learn to use higher laws to their advantage to overcome the lower ones. And this is the real secret sauce. True mastery isn't about denial, it's about skill. It's about learning to use the principle of polarity to change your mental state, which allows you to rise above that pendulum swing of rhythm that might be pulling you down. You don't try to stop the pendulum, that's impossible. You just learn to rise above its swing. So, in the end, the Kybalion leaves us with this incredibly powerful and personal question. It paints a picture of a universe that is alive, that is conscious, and that operates on laws we can actually understand. A reality where the greatest tool you will ever have is your own mind. The ultimate question, then, isn't just what the universe is made of, it's what you're going to create with it.